Hi, Dion from Eflowtion Support Services here, and I've got quite a good little vantage point. I've sort of clambered up some rocks. Actually, over there is where I did one of the introductions for the EFT and breathwork videos. Didn't actually know I was in this area. I tried to record somewhere else, but jets, the sounds of crows, and passing hikers. Not that I don't mind, but it kind of breaks the train of thought after a while. So I walked up here. I basically had to go off the beaten path to find a way to get up here. And these rocks are quite slippery with the rain at the moment, so I have to be careful. I'm just wearing all Kmart shoes with probably no tread. So yeah, a point to this INFJ chat, or intuitive chat, pretty much the same thing, is I wanted to ask a question, and it seems an illogical question, is how do you know the wind exists? It seems a strange question, but I will go somewhere with this. There's probably a point to this. Now, when we look at the wind, we could probably say that, to be able to be aware of the wind, we can see branches, leaves moving, swaying, dancing. I could feel the wind upon my hand, for example, brushing against the hairs on my arm. Seems the crows and the planes have followed me. Maybe they just want to listen to what I have to say. You could probably say you could taste the wind. There is a taste upon it, or smell the wind. There is a fragrance upon it. Now, all of these sensory things, sight, sound, because we can also hear the wind, taste, all these sorts of things, feel, are actually the sensory things, the sensory feedback. To hear the wind, it's vibrating against the eardrum. To feel the wind, it's brushing against something that is tactile, our skin. To see the wind moving is just a visual representation of the wind playing with the leaves. You don't actually see the wind itself doing it. It's just the end result of what is happening with the leaves. The taste requires something upon the wind, a smell, a fragrance. It's not actually the wind itself. It's actually, in some ways, odorless. It takes something upon the wind to either smell or taste. And our taste buds are mainly nose related, not so much taste buds on our tongue. So it's kind of this weird energy form in a way. We breathe it in, oxygen, breathe out carbon dioxide, it converts to energy in our body. It is not actually a visible, tangible thing, but we know it exists and we accept it for what it is, and we give it a name, wind, and something that we can't actually explain, can't see. It's just the stuff. It's like I can't grab the wind at the moment, sort of thing. I can't present the wind to you, although we can see all the effects of the wind upon ourselves, which is really quite amazing when you do think about it. It's like this somewhat generic energy form that we exist upon, yet we can't actually point to and say this is the thing. We can only point to definitions or how it relates to us humans, this thing that's circulating around that gives us life. There's that saying that be careful what you wish for, because you might get it, or something to that extent. Kind of an interesting saying, because it does imply that, I'm going to get all the goodies. Basically, I'm going to get all the good stuff that I always wanted. And we tend to think of something that is tactile, something that is monetary, something that is, or something that we can own or possess, be it people, relationships, status, all these sorts of things. But we might cultivate all of our ways, either ethically or unethically, to actually get what we want in the end. And similar to that, on a religious pursuit sort of thing, it's like those that seek enlightenment might actually get enlightenment. And in a way, it's like, and enlightenment is kind of a self-awareness, and a self-awareness of oneself in the world. And I'm not claiming enlightenment, I'm not going there. But it's kind of like there is a double-edged sword in be careful what you wish for. You might get that, because it's kind of like that old pursuit of happiness. Like happiness is actually some sort of tangible thing, like the air, that we actually need to pursue to achieve happiness. And happiness can be fleeting, or happiness can be bittersweet. And the opposite coin to getting what you want is that once you get it, it's kind of like almost like the thrill of the chase is over, and now you actually have to live the life of what you actually achieved. Because once again, we're chasing a future outcome of what we actually perceive will be the end result. So it's like I want $1 million, but when I get it, then I might put all my money into all these things and end up in debt, sort of thing. So it's like what we got was actually a lot more than what we actually bargained for. So it's like say for an enlightenment, for example, is that I think where a misconception lies is that somehow enlightenment entitles no more pain or no more suffering in the world. Everything that you cultivate, you then sustain from. So if it's a pain basis, if you're in pain and you see that as the way out, everything also has an end result that you have to live with, that happily ever after. There's an ever after in that sort of thing. The ever after is the after effect of that, what you've set out to achieve. So if you do look at the flip side of, like, I'll just target in on like the enlightenment aspect, when you become aware of a situation that doesn't serve you, doesn't serve yourself, and whether that's by your own means or an environmental means, like friends, family, these sorts of things, job situations, whatever it is, whatever was actually probably causing the pain in the first place, the confinement, the darkness, is actually what you start to leave behind. And it's also the awareness that leaving behind things is a grief process. And it's almost like grieving those parts of yourself that you are familiar with. And people become familiar with their painful environments. It might not be serving them, but it's actually what they're familiar with. And when you look at the word familiar, it sort of derives from family. It's what is familiar, what is safe, even though the safety causes disharmony, pain within oneself. So there might become a time when you start to go, well, okay, it's like, oh, I'm going to become this enlightened person. So I'm going to set out like it's almost like a job that you're going to apply for. But even with a job, you have to have the skills, you have to have the training to actually get what you actually want in the end. And what you want in the end may mean, it's not a blanket all statement, it's like it affects everyone differently, I guess, is leaving those parts of yourself and of those others behind. And there could be also a fine line between, okay, that's what I'm doing, or I'm also just escaping and just giving a different sort of a label. I started off this with air, and that, like, can we see the wind? Can we see these sorts of things? And it's like, what you actually achieve at the end of the day would be something that is a relationship with yourself. Yeah. So a relationship with yourself, or a rejoining of oneself, a reconnecting with oneself. Like, people go to yoga to do the flowy movements, or they might be doing the stretches and looking to the other person and going, well, they're doing a bit more than I am, sort of thing. I need to go down lower and hurt myself, sort of thing. Where yoga, the word means union, actually unifying mind, body, spirit, these sorts of things, connecting with oneself rather than what the other person is doing. It's like almost going into yoga, if you want to be antisocial, is actually going in for yourself, not for a social event, because that is connecting, exploring your body, especially if you're being disconnected from your body, knowing what your body is capable of, and having an awareness of what your body is capable of and what your thoughts are of in those painful stretches, and being able to come in and out of pain and know that you can survive it. I can't present my emotions to you as a physical thing. I can do it as similar to the wind playing against the leaves or against the skin, sort of thing, but I can't show you my emotions. I can display my emotions, but really my emotions start off as an energy form in the body, be it a biosignal, electrical signal, a neurological signal, whatever it is. It's this little frequency, it's this little range of things. And the only way for me to display my emotions is to relate that to you, be it in a happy way or a sad way or an angry way, sort of thing. With the wind, with enlightenment, with being careful what you wish for is probably what you're going to get, sort of thing, or be careful of that. Is everything in the end comes down to, and it's going to sound cliche, is love. And love can be both positive and negative. Positive in the sense of how we are raised by it, how we are created by it, how we express it, how we connect to others, be it even through friendships or actual relationships. We don't tend to hang out with friends because they annoy us. It's because we care about them. There's a caring, there's a familiarity with actually what we know. And a familiarity, once again, is like, if something is not familiar, it's scary. It's unknown. So where love can go wrong is where needs aren't met, where it's a corrupted kind of love, where there's pain, where there's lack of. So it can be both a giving thing and a taking thing. That is love. And in all I've seen of enlightenment, of all I've seen of what people want with their grand amounts of money, of power, sort of thing, is either attention, or they want to connect to that part that was damaged, or they want to actually have control over others, and it's either from a scarcity or a corruptedness of a love that happened probably early on. Then there's also the healing aspect of love, where you start to say, on an awakening process, that's what you're actually connecting to, or a yoga process, that's what you're unifying to. And similar to the wind, you can't actually show love, you can show displays of love, but how it is actually felt inside, internally, how it's actually connected to the other person. Like, you can be standing next to someone that you're quite passionate for and they're quite passionate to you, and just feel that connection, that energy, and it's like, and there's no touch involved, it's just a fondness, a caring, a love. And if there's been a lot of damage for a person from love, just seeking that comfort, that soothing, then it begins a journey of healing love in order to get back to a more pure form of love. And anything where there's been pain, there's probably going to be more pain until it actually gets a bit more soothing, a bit more better in oneself. And if your environment doesn't support that, in whatever you're trying to pursue, then the grieving process begins, or a choice happens within oneself. Do I stay in what is familiar even though it causes me pain? Or do I go off the beaten track? I didn't quite intend for that, but go off the beaten track to actually discover a new sort of sense of self, and a love for oneself. And if it's a second choice, then once again, be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. That's either going to be a lonely journey to get the grand total of enlightenment, or whatever you want to call it, or it's going to be, it's just back to what we know sort of thing, because that is familiar, that is family, that is comfort, that is soothing. So, yeah, I think that's where I was going with that, is that at the end of the day, it's an invisible force, but this love, this thing that drives us as a community, as a society, is what blows about the wind, is what dances the branches, is what feels against the skin, is what brushes against the lips, is what we breathe in and out and connect to. And it's almost imagining a world without wind. And what if the wind was love? So I'm Dion from Eflowtion Support Services, and thank you for watching this little chat. I'll see you in the next one.